So this is, believe it or not, the 7th in the Selfless Series. Those of you that are new to it, it's a series of sermons I've been giving for a while now, where we look at how we can deal with ourselves less and others more. In this particular case, I thought it was appropriate that this is the 7th sermon in this, because we're dealing with probably, on one hand, the hardest of any of these different sermons I'm going to give you on what to deal with about being selfless. On the other hand, it's probably the one that's going to bless you the most in your life. So what we're going to work with today is loving the unbeliever. And it's a two-sided coin. So you're going to see as I'm talking about this, I'm going to go one direction with this for a while. Where you are, what your stance needs to be, what you're commanded to do, and how you need to lead your life. But then I'm going to turn it around and go in another way. So if it seems to be going one direction for a while, just hang in there. About halfway through, I'm going to come back full circle around on it for you. So, first thing we need to understand, we are of Christ, not of the world. We've got to get our brain wrapped around it. If we are thinking, I should be able to do it like him, it's not fair that they act that way, he's been mean to me, why should I be nice to him? If we think that way, we're thinking like the world. We're not of the world. We don't deal with feelings. Does that mean that we don't feel things? It means that when we act, we don't act out of feeling, we act out of choice. If we act out of feeling, it's temporary, it's transient, it passes. You never want anyone to feel and only feel in love with you. They want them to choose love with you. You don't want people to feel like they should do it. If we only went to work on the days we felt like going to work, we'd probably show up a lot less days than what we actually do. Amen? So, they forget what Christ does for them. Those people who ask, those Christians especially that ask, well, do I have to do this? I don't feel like doing this. They've forgotten what Christ has done for them. Not just on the hill at Golgotha, but every day. How many times a day does he need to forgive you? How many times a day does he have to show you love? Have to show you patience? Have to suffer through something with you? We forget that, and we turn those eyes inward at ourselves, and we start thinking of ourselves more instead of ourselves less, and say, I don't feel like that. Well, that's okay. We're not talking about feelings. We're Christian. We're talking about choosing. What do you choose to do? I choose to be like Christ. Would he forgive them? Would he love them? Well, we see in Luke chapter 12, verses 47 and 48, we see a very clear, kind of unpleasant message about what is expected of us. The servant who knows the master's will and does not get ready or does not do what the masters want will be beaten with many blows. From everyone who has given much, much will be demanded. From the one who is entrusted with much, much more will be asked. So we're told when we don't follow the master's will, when we're not doing what the master wants, we've chosen our master, correct? Who's our master? Oh, that was not impressive at all. One more time, with vigor. Who's your master? Jesus. Much better. You had me scared there for a minute there. I heard someone say myself, I think. I'm a little scared on that one. So, our master is Jesus. He has told us what to do. He has provided much for us. But if he has given us much, much is going to be demanded. He's entrusted us with his word, with his children, with his message. And for those of us that are entrusted with much, much more is asked of us. So, if you say to me, Trent, it's not fair for me to have to do this. You know what I'm going to tell you? You're right, it's not fair. But you were given much, so much is expected of you. It's already been done for you. Or maybe I'll make this argument with you. It's completely fair. It was already done for you. It was done for you 2,000 years ago. We've just been waiting for you to make the first payment. We want you to do what Christ does for you all the time. Well, your argument might be, you don't understand what I'm going up against at my work, or with my family, or with my friends. They think, because I'm a Christian, that I'm gullible. They turn on the news or they flip on MSN.com and they $72 million to some guy who's saying the world was going to end yesterday. And they think we're all like that, and so I'm trying to fight through that. I understand. They think I'm narrow-minded, that I got my nose planted so deep into that Bible that I can't see what's going on around me. I understand that. And hopefully that's true, that you do have your nose planted in that Bible every day. Because that's where we're finding truth. That's where we're finding our answers. That's where we know we can't look to the world around us for it, so we look there. Well, they think that all they got to do is tell me a sad story, and I'm going to swoon and say ah and do whatever they want. They think that all I need to do is be more tolerant, that I just need to learn how to coexist with everyone, that if I just accept that they're living with some guy and not married to him, or that they're living a homosexual lifestyle, or that they're doing any of these things that I've told them that's not there, that I need to go with the program. I'm the intolerant one. I'm the narrow-minded one. I'm the stubborn one. I'm the gullible one. And I understand that. But we also need to understand that we are commanded to look past these biases, just like they were looked past for us. That the world is blinded, but we're not. We know the truth. The reason we're narrow-minded is because we are focused in on what we're supposed to be looking at. Just like a microscope, just like a telescope. It's not narrow-minded, it's focused, just as we are, on truth. 2 Corinthians tells us about this in chapter 4, verse 4. The God of this age has blinded the minds of the unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. We're commanded to correct in love, or to separate ourselves. This is the point I'm going to make for a little bit. Now, let me say it again, because this part gets missed. If I ever have to do a lot of apologetics with other people, or just outright apologizing with other people, it's because the Christian forgets that word I just said. How do we correct? Oh, that's not encouraging. How do we correct?
In love.
In love, right. Is that nagging? Is that yelling? Is that leaving nasty emails on their Facebook page, or however you do that? No. In love. We are commanded to correct in love. If we can't do that, I'm going to talk about how we do that. But if we can't do that, then to separate ourselves. We hear about that in 1 Corinthians 15:33. We are told to be a light. We're told to be a beacon. We're told to be a light on a hill, in fact, that people can see. So that if we're on a ship and someone's drowning, that we reach down and grab them. If we can't reach down and grab them, we throw them down a life preserver to reel them in. We don't jump in next to them and drown with them. Okay? And that's something that we see, as silly as it seems as a concept, happening to Christians on a regular basis. Well, the problem we run into, I was talking to a brother just yesterday. He doesn't go to church here. He's out in Texas, but I was talking to him. He was very upset several months ago. They were having elections in Texas, and his pastor came up before them and briefly spoke. He said about 5 minutes or so about who the candidates were and what their positions were and what they should consider and so forth and so on. He goes, it's none of his business. I know what I know, and I'm going to make the vote the way I need to make it. He's like, there are things a pastor should talk about and the thing a pastor shouldn't talk about. And I said, really? I'm like, well, okay. Well, if you're going to make that decision on who's going to run your state at that time, who are you looking to for truth? He said, well, it's all over the news. I'm like, you're trusting the news for truth. Oh, goodness. He's like, well, I watch people talk about it. People have commentaries. I'm like, please tell me you're not watching Rock the Vote. Where Axl Rose comes on and tells you who you should vote for based on his high moral principles as a person. I'm sure Axl's a very nice guy. I just don't trust him to help me choose what truth is. Same thing with clothing, for instance, getting away from voting. My wife and I were sitting in a waiting room, and she pulled out a magazine, and she was showing what it told young ladies they should wear and why they should wear. And when I picked my jaw back up off the ground of some of the advice that they were giving to young ladies, I was amazed. I was amazed that if it was logical, it just didn't make any sense. Right? There was a reasonable structure there, but when you looked at it, and they were talking about, I won't even bring up what they were talking about, but the things they were talking about, and talking to teenage girls nonetheless about how to do these things, I was appalled. I was disturbed. People say, well, I talk to my friends. Talking to your friends are good, especially if they're good counsel, but are all your friends of a frame of mind where they can speak truth to you? Or are they kind of all over the place? Well, I heard this commercial once. I'm like, they're selling you something. Right? When you go, particularly if you're going to commercials or something, when it's on a website at www.something.com, commercial, selling you, wants your money, will tell you whatever you want to hear as long as you send in the money. And my favorite response of where people get truth is, well, I get emailed things. Please tell me you didn't send your routing number to Afghanistan to the guy who just overthrew the treasury there so he can deposit the $3 million in your account, because you probably need to make a phone call right after this service. I would say during the service, but the account's already empty, so it doesn't really matter. But just for future reference, you might want to view that. We're not finding the truth in news. We're certainly not finding it in celebrities or trend magazines. We get mixed reactions from our friends, depending on who they are, and we certainly can't count on commercials and emails for it. We find the truth in one place. It's very spot. Where do we find the truth? In the Bible, in God, in Jesus. These are places to find the truth. Okay? It's not through mass emails. It's not through the news. It's certainly not from Axl Rose.